Okay, so I want you to close your eyes for a second. Well, actually, wait. If you're driving or operating any heavy machinery, please keep them open.
Good disclaimer.
Yeah, safety first. But if you're safe, close them and just conjure up the most romantic image your brain has stored away.
Oh boy. I have a feeling I know exactly where this is going. It almost always involves some kind of uh, precipitation.
It almost always involves precipitation. It's pouring rain, right? Someone is running through an airport terminal, probably committing like several federal felonies to get past security.
Sailing.
There is screaming. There is this desperate, soaking wet confession of undying love just as the boarding gate is about to close. The music swells. You hear the strings. They kiss and, credits roll.
It is very effective cinema. I mean, it gets the heart rate up. It definitely sells tickets.
It's incredible cinema.
Yeah.
But here's the problem, and it's really the whole reason we're doing this deep dive today. That scene,
Yeah.
that high-octane, breathless intensity, it is terrible, terrible advice for how to actually build a life with another human being.
Because the movie ends right there. It doesn't show you Tuesday morning.
Right. It doesn't show you who does the dishes 3 weeks later or who pays the rent or how they handle it when the car breaks down. And it's not romantic movie rain. It's just cold, miserable rain.
Yep.
So today we're looking at a fascinating stack of research and writing on what's called relational consistency. And I know consistency sounds like the most boring word in the English language. It sounds like oatmeal.
Or dental hygiene.
Yeah.
Necessary, but not exactly thrilling.
Exactly. But the whole argument in these sources is that consistency is actually the only mechanics by which trust gets built. We're going to look at why intensity is a trap, why some people use behavior as a language because they can't use words, and finally, this really stark philosophical distinction between the hell of fragmentation and the heaven of coherence.
And mechanics is absolutely the right word. The material we're covering today, it treats trust not as this magical kind of ethereal vibe that just happens to you, but as a structure. It's architectural.
Architectural, I like that.
Yeah. And if you don't have the beams in the right place, the roof collapses, no matter how pretty the paint is.
So let's start there with the trap of intensity. The source material opens with this line that feels like a direct attack on my teenage diary.
I'm ready.
It says, "Trust does not grow from intensity. It grows from repetition."
Oof. It's a hard pivot for a lot of us, isn't it? We're culturally conditioned by movies, by songs, by novels to worship the grand gesture. You know, the boombox held over the head, the room filled with 500 red roses.
Yeah.
We mistake that adrenaline spike for intimacy. But the text argues that biological safety, the feeling that allows your nervous system to actually rest, doesn't come from the spike on the graph. It comes from the flat line.
The flat line, I mean, that sounds a little morbid, doesn't it? Like a hospital monitor?
In a medical context, sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
But in a relationship context, the flat line is just reliability. It means the baseline is steady. And the source defines consistency very specifically here. It's not just hanging out a lot or, texting every day. It lists 3 criteria. Actions match promises. Care is steady rather than sporadic. And this is the big one. Attention is not conditional.
That conditional part really stuck out to me because it's easy to be attentive when you're in the honeymoon phase, right? Or when the other person is being fun and easy and agreeable.
Right. It's easy to love someone when they're reflecting your best self back to you. But the text calls this the inconvenience test.
The inconvenience test.
Yeah. It says consistency is measured when effort does not disappear just because it is inconvenient.
Oof. That is the real metric right there.
Think about it.
Yeah.
It's easy to be a great partner when you've had 8 hours of sleep, you just got a promotion, and the sun is shining.
Yeah.
But who are you at 3 a.m. when the baby is screaming and won't go back to sleep?
Or when you're stuck in traffic.
Yes. When you're late for a reservation and your partner asks a stupid question, if the care just evaporates the moment the stress hits, that is not consistency. That's a performance.
And the source makes a biological argument here too, doesn't it? It says safety forms. It implies it's not a choice we're making intellectually.
Precisely. You can't talk your nervous system into feeling safe. You can tell yourself, oh, he's a great guy, he's just stressed, or she implies she loves me, so it's fine. But if the behavior is erratic, your body's going to stay in fight or flight mode.
It knows.
It knows.
Yeah.
The text says safety forms when behavior, tone, and presence align over time. It's cumulative. It's like sediment. It builds up layer by layer by layer.
There's this visual metaphor the author uses that I think is just brilliant. It says, without consistency, words float. With consistency, words land.
Words float. I love that image. Think about a helium balloon, right? If I promise you something, I'll be there, or I'll change, or I won't do that again. But I've broken that same promise 5 times before.
Mm.
That word has no gravity. It just floats away. You hear it, but you can't grab it. You can't stand on it.
It has no weight. It's just air.
Exactly. Consistency provides the gravity. Repetition is the force that pulls the word down out of the air and plants it on the ground so it actually becomes real. Without the action, the word is just a sound.
Which brings us perfectly to the second big chunk of this research, which is the problem of those unmoored words.
Unmoored, like a ship that's cut its anchor and is just drifting out to sea.
Yeah. And we've all been there. You're in a relationship, and this could be romantic, a friendship, even a professional one, and the words are just perfect. I value you. I'm so sorry. I'm going to do better.
The script is Oscar-worthy.
Totally. But nothing actually changes in the real world.
The source makes a really crucial distinction here that I think explains why this is so confusing for people. It says, language is flexible. Behavior is concrete.
Okay, let's unpack that. Language is flexible.
You can bend words to mean whatever you want in the moment. You can shape them to get out of trouble, to smooth things over, to make yourself look good, or to get the other person to stop being mad at you. Words are infinitely malleable. But behavior is rigid. You can't fake behavior over a long timeline. You can fake it for a night, maybe a weekend, but not for 6 months.
It's the difference between a sketch and a photograph. You can draw whatever you want. You could draw yourself flying, but the photo shows what's actually there.
And the text points out the psychological toll this takes on the person listening. It says, if actions contradict statements, the body registers the truth.
That line actually gave me chills. The body registers the truth because it explains that feeling of, like, nausea.
Yeah.
Or that tightness in your chest when someone is promising you the moon, but your stomach is just like, nope, I do not believe this.
That is your cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
Your brain is trying to process the logic of the sentence, he said he loves me. But your amygdala, the threat detection center of your brain, is remembering the pattern. It's screaming, danger! And the source argues that eventually we all graduate. We stop listening to the promises and we start watching the patterns.
It's a survival mechanism, really.
It is. We move from auditory processing, just listening to the speech, to pattern recognition. And there's a line in the text that sums this up perfectly. Meaning is not in what is said. It is in what is sustained.
What is sustained? Wow, that is a high bar.
It is, but it's the only bar that matters. Words aren't useless, obviously. We need communication. We need to express intent. But the text argues words are incomplete without embodiment. There's sounds, ghosts, until you give them a body through action.
Okay, so let's pause here, because if we stop the episode right now, the takeaway is basically people who don't keep their promises are liars or manipulators, and you should just run.
Right.
But the source material actually pivots here. It adds this layer of nuance that I think is really, really important, especially for anyone trying to understand why their partner might be struggling with this.
It asks the question, why? Why is there this gap between words and actions? Is it always malicious? Is it always a calculated lie?
Right. Is everyone who fails at consistency a villain?
And the source suggests no. It introduces this concept of emotional fluency, or rather, the lack of it.
So this is the idea that not everyone has the vocabulary to say what they feel.
Correct. The text notes that some people were just never taught to name their feelings. Or even worse, they learned early on that vulnerability leads to rejection. If you grew up in a house where saying, I'm scared, got you mocked, or saying, I need help, got you ignored, well, you stop using those words. You delete them from your dictionary.
So what do you do instead? I mean, you still have the feelings.
You act them out. The text argues behavior becomes their vocabulary.
So instead of saying, I feel insecure and I need some reassurance, maybe they just pick a fight.
Exactly. Or they withdraw. The text gives these examples: getting quiet when hurt, withdrawing when overwhelmed, becoming reactive. To the partner, that looks like they're being a jerk. It looks like they're checking out. But to the person doing it, that behavior is the sentence. They're screaming, I am hurt. They're just doing it by slamming a door instead of using a noun and a verb.
This works for the positive stuff too, though, doesn't it?
It does. And this is really important to see. Some people will never write you a sonnet. They will never give you that movie moment speech in the rain, but they show up. They change the oil in your car because they know you're busy. They remember exactly how you take your coffee. They quietly fix the thing around the house that's been bothering you for weeks.
So the source is saying we need to learn to be translators, to sort of speak behavior.
Yes, but, and this is a massive flashing neon but, the author draws a very bright red line here, and I want to make sure we do not skip over this.
Please. Because I can hear some listeners thinking, oh, great, so I just have to accept that he screams at me because he has low emotional fluency.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
The text says explicitly, this does not excuse harm.
Okay, thank you. Good.
The text explains that it's about. It explains why watching patterns reveals more than interrogating words. It's data. It helps you understand the mechanism. If someone is hurting you, understanding why they're hurting you, maybe they have trauma, maybe they lack fluency, it doesn't stop it from hurting.
Right. It's an explanation, not a permission slip.
Exactly. The takeaway isn't tolerate bad behavior because they can't speak. The takeaway is stop waiting for the speech to change and look at the regulation. The source says connection is read through regulation and consistency. Is this person emotionally regulated? Can they stay steady? That tells you way more about their capacity for relationship than their vocabulary ever will.
That word regulation feels like the bridge to the final and honestly the heaviest part of this deep dive. The text sets up this binary. It calls it hell and heaven.
It is dramatic phrasing, but it's used philosophically here. It's about the state of your reality.
Let's start with hell. The source defines the hell of connection not as fire and brimstone, but as fragmentation.
Fragmentation, yeah, being broken into pieces. And it links this directly to unguided words. Speech without responsibility.
What does that look like in practice?
Well, it's the chaotic relationship. The text lists the attributes: reactive, ego-driven, manipulative, performative. It's the partner who is charming one minute and vicious the next. It's the apology that is followed immediately by the exact same behavior.
That word performative feels especially relevant in the social media age. The couple that posts the perfect anniversary photo, captioning it, "My soulmate," but you know they haven't had a real conversation in 6 months.
That is fragmentation. The public image doesn't match the private reality, and the source describes the consequence of this: confusion, betrayal, and chaos. It uses a phrase that really struck me: arguments without listening.
Oh, arguments without listening? I felt that one in my bones. That is the feeling of talking to a brick wall, or talking to a lawyer who's just trying to win the case rather than actually resolve the issue.
And it creates this distortion of reality. That is why it's hell. When you're with someone who says, "I love you," but acts with contempt, it fractures your reality testing. You don't know which is true, the words or the actions. And living in that gap is psychological torture. You start to doubt your own sanity.
So if that's hell, get us to heaven, because we need a way out of that.
Heaven, in relational terms, is coherence.
Coherence, meaning things stick together, they make sense.
Alignment.
Mm.
The map matches the territory. The text says coherence forms when people trust responsibly, know themselves honestly, and allow vulnerability without manipulation.
Without manipulation, that's a tricky one, because sometimes we use vulnerability as a weapon, right? Look how sad I am, look how broken I am, so you have to forgive me.
Exactly. That's unguided. That's weaponized feelings. Coherence is, I am sad, and I am telling you because I want you to know me, not because I want to control the outcome. It also mentions accepting imperfection without abandoning boundaries.
That sounds like mature love. It's not saying heaven is perfect. It's not saying you never annoy each other.
No, and that's the surprise. I think if you ask most people to describe relationship heaven, they would talk about passion, fireworks, never fighting, reading each other's minds.
The Notebook again.
The Notebook, always the Notebook. But the source says the result of coherence is ease.
Ease.
Just ease, not intensity, not drama, ease.
That stops me in my tracks, because for a lot of people, especially people who have been in those hell relationships, those fragmented relationships, ease sounds suspicious.
Or boring.
Right. If you're used to the roller coaster, the merry-go-round feels like you're dead. If you aren't fighting for your life, does the person even care?
And the source tackles this head on. It argues that for the nervous system that is addicted to the adrenaline of the make-up-break-up cycle, safety feels like boredom. But ease is what happens when words are guided and actions are steady. You don't have to be a detective in your own life.
You don't have to decode every text message to figure out the hidden meaning.
You don't have to wonder if I'm fine means I'm actually fine, or I am secretly plotting your demise.
The energy you save. Just thinking about it makes me take a deep breath.
You can use that energy to actually build a life, to create things, to rest. That is the heaven. It's the absence of the constant structural analysis of the relationship. The text sums it up perfectly. Consistency turns speech into truth. Embodiment turns connection into safety.
Embodiment turns connection into safety. So safety isn't something you find. It isn't like a treasure chest you stumble upon. It's something you build through embodiment.
Every single time you keep a promise, every time you show up when you said you would, every time you stay regulated when you really want to snap, you are placing another brick in that wall of safety. You're building the house.
And the alternative.
The alternative is the final line of the text. Unguided words fracture. Aligned hearts integrate.
Integration versus fracture. That really is the whole ballgame.
It is. It's about being whole.
So let's bring this down to earth for everyone listening. We've talked about these high-level concepts: fragmentation, coherence, fluency, biological safety. But what does someone listening do with this today? How do we apply this to our actual messy lives?
I think it's an invitation to an audit, a relationship audit. And not just of your partner, but of yourself.
The scary audit.
We have to start looking at the sugar rush of intensity differently. We're trained to chase the spark. But this text suggests the protein of a relationship, the stuff that actually builds the muscle, is repetition. It's boring, beautiful repetition.
So ask yourself, are my words floating or are they landing?
Right. Am I speaking beautifully but acting carelessly? Am I expecting trust because of what I said or because of what I've done? It's a tough mirror to look into.
And when looking at the people around us, are we getting hooked on their potential?
Yeah.
On their unmoored words?
We have to stop reading the script and start watching the performance. That's the best advice I can give. If the script says, I am a reliable person, but the performance is just a chaotic improv show, believe the performance. Always believe the performance.
It reminds me of that quote, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. But this adds the layer of how they show you. They show you through the pattern, not the apology.
Exactly. The apology is just sound waves.
Yeah.
The changed behavior is the truth.
I want to leave everyone listening with that thought about peace versus boredom. I think that's the nugget that's going to keep me up tonight.
It's so worth sitting with. If a relationship feels boring because there is no screaming, no high-stakes chasing, no dramatic pouring rain confessions, is it actually boring? Or are you just finally safe?
Are you bored or are you just at peace?
That's the question. And if the answer is peace, don't run from it. Lean into it.
This has been a heavy one, but a really necessary one. We're rethinking the architecture of how we connect.
Always a pleasure to dig into this stuff with you.
Thanks for being here. To our listeners, go audit your patterns, see where your words are landing. We will see you on the next deep dive.
Take care.